All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the quick hit video for the London game between the Falcons and the Jaguars. Sunday morning, 9:30 Eastern, I believe, is the start time. I'm Hoop 2410, Mike Petta, breaking down the showdown slate here for this game, which not the most exciting game. Jacksonville coming off a pathetic loss to Houston, and then Atlanta just not a great fantasy team. I mean, their quarterback sucks. Obviously, Bijan Robinson solid, but man, they just don't pass the ball. Their games are boring. All three of them so far this season have been boring. If they get a lead, they're going to try to, bury the clock. So I don't know, not the greatest game, but the prize pool is pretty big, 100,000 up top on DraftKings. So we'll go through, see what we can find. We'll talk some captains, and then we'll kind of go through maybe each position and see what we can find, talk some roster construction. Please do us a favor, though. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. We definitely appreciate that as we try to grow this channel a little bit. If you are not a member, you can get in for $19. We have a $19 5-day mission package, gets you full access to the website for 5 days, and it gets you everything. MLB, obviously NFL, get you through Monday Night Football as well. So let's get into it, see what we can find here on the captain side of things. Roster construction is just going to lead you to Jacksonville heavy. There's just not many options for Atlanta, and I know people say, well, I want to go opposite, but man, clicking 4 Atlanta Falcons, 5 Atlanta Falcons players or names just does not seem like fun. So, I mean, by default, it's going to be Jacksonville heavy. I like that approach as well. Trevor Lawrence does have a relatively cheap, he's $10K in the flex, $15,000 if you put him in the captain spot. He has not been great. You look at the fantasy output, 18, 10, 15, a lot of people, including myself, are expecting big things out of him this season. Maybe this is the get right spot. Maybe they needed to get the hell out of the United States, go over the pond there and find some success, because it hasn't been great here. But you're just forced basically to go heavy Jacksonville. I like Lawrence. I guess the pass catchers more, Lawrence, and then Ridley, Christian Kirk, even a little bit of Evan Ingram, who's been a lot of targets, 5, 8, and 8, progressively getting better. I think he's a captain play. So all the pass catchers for me are captain plays, Ingram, Kirk, and then Ridley and Lawrence I like there. And, ETN you can throw in the mix as well. If they get a lead, he has multiple touchdown upside. So I think he's a play in the captain spot as well. So I will be going heavy Jacksonville in the captain. If you want to go in Atlanta captain, it's hard to start clicking some of these names. Bijan Robinson makes the most sense, obviously, but they are going to limit his workload. But the big thing here is the targets and the pass catching ability. 6.56 in terms of the targets, 6.44 in terms of receptions. Just creates a really nice floor for his fantasy output. And then if he finds the end zone, he probably has that game that you need. So interested in him. I'm not going to play Ritter up there. Drake London's been super disappointing, 0, 18, 5. I guess maybe if you get this ceiling 18 fantasy point performance, he's the guy that you need in the captain, but man, just not seeing it from the Atlanta side. So yeah, it's going to be heavy Jacksonville for me, certainly in that captain spot. In terms of the flex, all those guys in play with Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, if you do play him in the captain, I think at least one pass catcher you can certainly play a couple. But all those guys I mentioned for captains are flex plays: Bijan, ETN, Lawrence, Ridley, Kirk, Ingram, and then for me, Ritter's definitely more of a flex play. Don't love him, obviously. There's just not much there. 8, 22, 7, so 2 fantasy point games under under 10 from a quarterback. That's absolutely insane. But for the flex spot, like, you have to consider him here. Same with Robinson, who, I like more. Drake London, Algier, more of a flex play. But that floor is low on him. 4 and 4. I mean, basically 5 fantasy points in his last 2 games. Will come down. Zay Jones is out, which is obviously a big boost to the other pass catchers. Should have mentioned that in the opening. And then Agnew is also questionable. It sounds like he is going to play. There is some hope. So he's a cheap type play for us. I'll talk kickers and defenses after. Kyle Pitts, you can throw him in that same category as the other, like him and Drake London, same sort of thing. I mean, man, they're good players, but in this offense, there's just not much from the passing side. 8, 3, 6 fantasy points. He hasn't cracked 10 fantasy points this season. Flex play, not a flex play that is not a priority. Let's just put it that way. Mac Hollins, I think, is fine. This Bigsby guy does have some touchdown upside. He's already got 2 this season. But outside of the touchdowns, he hasn't done anything. But at 3.2K, if he finds the end zone, that could be enough. So he's certainly a flex play. Jonnu Smith at 2K flat, 6 and 8 targets in his last 2 games. He has to be in that flex conversation. Probably one of the better cheap options here on this slate. Tim Jones got 3 targets last week with Zay Jones out. $400. Certainly in on him, and that's pretty much it in terms of like the cheap plays. But 3 targets, $400 in. Have to wait and see on Cordero Patterson. I mean, he hasn't played yet this season. I think that he probably sits again. We should get that news Sunday morning. That's kind of where we're at in the flex. Now let's talk some kickers. Let's talk some defenses. Always a relatively important part of these slates. The one thing that stands out, Jacksonville's defense all the way up at 5K. That's a big boy price tag. At 5K for a defense, like, that defense has to go out and do something. 5K, I just don't love it. My rule typically is I just put in, a moderate projection for these defenses, and whatever I get, I get. Same with the Falcons, 3,800. Sure. I mean, if I really want to play defense, I'd probably just go with the Falcons, save the $1,200. 2 very viable kickers on the slate. 2 kickers that do get the job done. Brandon McManus and Koo. 4,200 for McManus. Koo is 4K, and definitely the Falcons side. They like kicking field goals. They don't want a dynamic offense. They want to slow it down, boring ass offense, and it's usually good for kickers. So probably prefer him at the kicker position. But McManus is very strong too. Actually, both really, really good plays at this in the flex position. Won't play him in the captain, but definitely solid for flex. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, as I said, like, you're going to be Jacksonville heavy on the slate. There's just no way around it. They have the best fantasy options on the slate, and they have more fantasy options on the slate. The Falcons offense is just a boring ass offense. Like, there's no way around it. Like, if they get a lead, they'll just try to burn out the clock. It's just not fun for fantasy purpose. So Jaguars heavy in the captain. Not a ton of cheapish plays. So I don't want to like fully dumpster dive and take a lot of chances. We talked about Tim Jones. Yeah, $400, 3 targets last week. By far the best cheap option on the slate, especially if you're playing like those Trevor Lawrence captain teams. So that's kind of where we're at. If you're watching this video, which obviously would be before Sunday morning, we are on the Mayo Media Network. Myself, Tambo, Title, 9:45 Eastern. Get in over there, kind of go through the whole slate, talk through the plays, and get you on the right path for some Sunday victories. As always, looking forward to seeing those SHIPIT Nation logos at the top of the leaderboard. Good luck in your contest. Make sure to check in at the channel and tune into all our videos throughout the week. Not only football, but we have baseball shows. We'll have baseball shows throughout the playoffs, showdown shows, and everything else. So appreciate all your support. Good luck this week, and let's go ahead and just ship it.